Welcome to the Go Green training. It is April 11th, 2025, and I am here with Rajan. He's going to go ahead and role play with us today to do our TPO closing process. So if you're anybody out there who maybe hasn't sold a lot of TPO or never sold TPO, or you don't know what TPO is, right? It's third party owned solar. So if you're selling solar out there and you want to work with one of the best in the industry, I'll toot my own horn here. Closed over 250 installed TPO contracts. I know there's people out there who've done more, but anyways, quite a bit. And I'm excited to share the process with you. And so the only ask is if you get tremendous value from this training, reach out to me. My name's Jonathan Charles Wilson. You can DM me, comment wherever you see this video and reach out. I'd love to mentor you on your first deal. I do a standard 50-50 split. And anyways, hope this is super valuable. So let's get started, Nav. So here we are sitting at your kitchen table, Nav. And hey, thanks for having me over, Nav. This is a beautiful house you have. How long have you guys lived here?
Oh, thank you. We worked pretty hard on it. It was not beautiful when we got
Oh,
here.
wow. How long have
Uh,
you been in the house?
we've been in this house about 5 years, um, and it's a 40-year-old home.
Oh, wow. So yeah, it doesn't look like 40-year-old home. You guys did a lot of improvements here. Well,
Yeah.
cool. I'll go ahead and keep this short and sweet for us today. I know you found me through your friend Joe, and he was kind of telling you a little bit about it, I'm sure. But before I jump in and kind of get started with how this program works, just tell me, like, what do you already know about solar, or what did Joe tell you about our program?
Yeah, well, I got some electrical knowledge, so I could pick up some of what you're putting down. Joe said that he had a pretty cheap payment and he didn't have to buy anything and there wasn't like a crazy interest. And I'd like a payment close to what Joe had, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, Joe's house was one of those situations where, it just really made sense. Now, obviously, every house is a little bit different because the way this program kind of works is today we're going to go through, build a project for you that fits your home's energy needs, and then we're going to go ahead and submit this to the solar utility provider. And they're going to kick us back a rate. And basically, the way they determine that mostly is how much sun hits your roof, right? Your house has a different orientation in regards to the sun than Joe's house. And so, I looked walking up, I didn't see any big major trees. Looks like you actually have some south facing roof, which is ideal for solar. So fingers crossed, hopefully we can get you the same, setup as Joe. But yeah, before we, kind of get started here, let me just kind of tell you the problem here in Arizona. I don't know if you really looked into this before. Like, besides talking to Joe, have you guys ever like gosh, bit, shop solar? Have you ever gotten a bid or looked into it?
We're from California and the house that we had came with solar. So we just paid for that. We had to take it over when we bought the house. It was kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh, okay, yeah. What was like the biggest pain in the ass about it?
It was some company called Solar or something or other. They went out of business and Elon bought them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I know the company. Yeah, this unfortunately happens a lot in the solar space. This is one of the biggest risks is solar companies come and go just like any other type of contractor. You said you've had some
Yeah,
experience in
I
electrical.
don't know how I feel about like leasing it, and I don't like dealing with the government and all their voodoo magic stuff. And the word lease just seems to always have a problem when
When
you know
something
we.
goes wrong. Yep.
Is that what Joe did? Did he lease something with you?
So no, he didn't do a lease. It's actually a little bit different program. So it's what it's called is a power purchase agreement. Have you ever heard of that?
Um, I mean, no, I haven't. No.
Okay, so it's similar to a lease in that you do not own the equipment, but there's a few key differences. So a power purchase agreement is just like it sounds. It's an agreement to purchase power from Go Green as your new electric provider instead of from so and so utility company that you have. So basically, if we can just switch your utility providers, you agree to pay a set price per kilowatt hour. Now, the biggest difference is when you go to sell, right? And when you sell the house, like you already experienced, whatever company's on there, whether it's, a lease or, from another company that's out of business, which happens, you're kind of stuck with whatever scenario the previous homeowner set you up with, right?
Right.
So this is a little bit different. Basically, if your home qualifies, we can generate power and store it on site with batteries, and then we actually are able to move you essentially off grid the majority of the time and be your own power provider. Now, we do that if your home qualifies at no upfront cost. The only catch is that not every home is a good fit. And so that's my job today is just to keep it real simple and see if you guys qualify for that lower utility rate. Now, if you guys decide to sell, this is the big key, right? Because if you sell this thing and you have a lease, one of the big problems with leases in the past is they would put a lien on the house. Have you heard about that?
I'm not sure if that's what we dealt with. They
You
just made us sign a new lease contract.
They did. Okay. So yeah, it was a lease then, but I'm not sure what you had back then, but basically, yeah, back in the day, you said 5, 6 years ago you moved. So back then it was a little bit different. Leases used to put a lien on the house. Now, basically the way this works is if you go to sell the house, whenever the buyer looks at the house, they're going to see this lien for this dollar amount that's associated with what the equipment costs. Now, generally, what happens is the buyer is going to open up negotiation and say, hey, we don't want that. You need to pay it off. And what's going to happen oftentimes is you're going to have to eat into the equity you've accumulated in your home just to pay that thing off to get out of it and move out of the house. Now, this is kind of the opposite of what a lot of the solar people say. You'll hear people say, things like, oh, this is going to increase the value of your home. And
Okay.
that is true if you own the solar outright. But, currently, with the way things are going here in Arizona with the utility companies are constantly attacking solar. Have you heard anything about that or seen anything about that?
Yeah, you always see the old ladies on three on your side that got ripped off and paid way too much. And,
Okay.
Joe's not a stupid guy. So the only reason I took your meeting because he's a tightwad.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was a little challenging, I'll say that. So, you
you
know,
know,
he, he
also,
he did his homework.
I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if I'm being honest, I think I could probably install it myself. But
Yeah, yeah, I know you had some electrical experience. Were you a contractor? How was that?
a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I just dabbled, putting in some outlets and like, well, this can't be rocket science. Put some panels together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Well, hey, I invite you to check into that if that's something that you decide you want to do. A lot of times what I find is my homeowners, will kind of start digging deeper into all the complexities and they actually say, you know what, this is actually a really great deal to just have somebody professionally do it. But at the end of the day, obviously that's up to
What's
you which way you
what's
go.
what's this gonna cost me?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into that right here in just a second. So, basically, right now, just so you understand what's happening here in Arizona, because this is really important, because a lot of people have had bad experiences with solar. I don't know if you've heard any of them, but basically, here's what happens. People will get solar on their house and they'll get the wrong information. For instance, they'll be told, hey, you don't need a battery, you can just do solar by itself. That's one of the most common pieces of advice I hear these days in Arizona. And here's why that's a bad idea. Currently, all the rules and laws for solar are regulated by the utilities with what's called net metering. So, net metering basically states that whenever you're producing power during that 4 or 5 hour window in the middle of the day, obviously your house is using some of that, but the rest of it is actually selling back to the utility grid and they have to buy it back at a certain price. Now, here's the thing. The utilities out in Arizona, they don't like paying more than they have to. They're always trying to save a buck or make more money, and you've probably felt some of that. You've been in the house for 5 years.
My
Let me ask
power
you.
goes up every year. So I think that when we moved in, a summer bill was like $300, and now we're at like $450 every summer for I
Yeah.
think it the amount of power. My wife didn't pop out any more kids, and the dogs didn't shoot out any more puppies. So I'm pretty sure we're using the same amount of power.
I love it. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And that's because every single year, the utility companies, they go to the utilities commission and they request for increases to pay for different expansion, new builds, fees. Obviously, the cost of labor to maintain the power grids just keeps going up. And obviously, those are union jobs, high paid. Obviously, they're risky jobs, so they deserve every penny. But the bottom line is the cost to deliver power to your house just keeps increasing. On top of that, the solar side, the more and more people that switch to solar are actually causing your rates to increase. Did you know that?
Uh, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so basically it's super simple. The utility companies have a set number of customers besides new builds. Everybody else, they're expecting a certain amount of money every single year. But the more and more people that switch to solar in your area, the fewer and fewer customers that they have to sell their electricity to. So every
Eh,
time they lose a customer, they have to make up for that loss, right?
right.
So what they do is they actually increase the rates of everybody else. And I always say that it's actually this way by design. It's kind of like a game where you're forced to get off the sidelines eventually because it's going to get too expensive. And I always say solar is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? It's when you're going to get it with what program. And for some people, it takes them to get up to six, $700 just to feel the pain to finally make the switch. 450 is honestly not too bad, believe it or not, these days. That's kind of the average that I see.
Mhm.
But like obviously for Joe, I think he was in a situation a little bit less. I think his bill was only like 300.
Mhm.
And so for him, I think we were able to get him down to like 165, 170. I'm not 100%, but it was a pretty decent savings. And so, if we were able to do something similar like that for you today, would that be something that you'd want to move on?
I don't like to have any debt or be in contracts that I'm tied into. Right now just pay my power bill and nobody's got me obligated to anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason why people like this program is because, who wants to spend 30, $40,000 or take out a loan just to save, three, $400 a month? Like, yeah, it has an ROI, but usually these things have like a 7 to 10 year return on investment. So I know you guys are, excuse me, you're relatively new to the home and you've put a lot into it. So I don't imagine you would want to move, but do you guys have any plans to move in the near future?
In this market, I'd probably keep the house as an investment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy, right? So it's like, you probably got it back 5 years ago, what, 3%?
Well, let me ask you a question. Like whether I'm buying this or leasing it, with everything in the news with tariffs right now,
Yep,
um,
that's true.
am I paying more for my system now by buying it now? Wouldn't it be better to hold off till the stuff dies down?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, the tariffs, I don't know if you heard that, Trump actually extended those for 90 days. So
Yeah,
right
Japan.
now, yeah, right now we're kind of in this weird spot where we're being told by our suppliers that we may very well see a substantial 20 to 30%, maybe even more of a price increase. Thankfully, right
Because
now,
the bond market dropped.
oh
The
wow,
Japanese,
you're a finance guy. I love it.
the
You keep up with all
Japanese,
that stuff.
Japanese sold off all their bonds and crippled the bond market in the U.S., so they had to back out and extend it.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about the bond market. I'm just a solar expert, but I can tell you this from a cost standpoint, you're 100% right. The price of things will be going up over the next 2 to 3 months. Right now, they haven't. And so
So
this is kind of,
how does it shield me with inflation? Because I'm gonna have to pay interest or something on this, right?
yeah, obviously nothing's free. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves, like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's companies out there that'll say free solar. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt because honestly, it makes us look crooked as an industry when, let's be honest, is anything really free?
no.
Like it's not. So, it's just, false advertising. But the bottom line is, pretty much all solar is no upfront cost. It's just how are you going to do it? Are you going to do a loan, a lease, or a power purchase agreement? Those are the three main ones. And so let's go ahead and pull up your design and just jump into the numbers here. So all right, so now, so let's take a look at your roof here. So as you can see, we've actually were able to get most of the panels here on the south section, which is ideal. It just means that when we submit this project to the utility provider, they're going to actually probably kick us back a more favorable price. Fingers crossed, if we can actually
I
get
I use more of my power at night.
exactly. And that's why batteries are so important. So let me just kind of break this down real quick and then we'll go over the numbers. So batteries are the most important part of this equation. So remember how I said the utility companies in Arizona, they're not giving you credit to buy that power from you anymore?
Yeah.
So that 4 or 5 hour window in the day, that has to produce enough power for an entire 24-hour cycle until the next day. Now, the problem is solar only works, like I said, 4 to 5 hour, maybe 6 hours in the summer in the middle of the day. The rest of the time when you're using power, you're going to be running off this battery. So we need to make sure we size the battery appropriate to power the house through the entire 24-hour cycle and effectively make you off grid 90% or so of the time.
How do
That's
you
the
guys calculate that? You're not in my house flipping stuff on and off all day.
Yeah, so you actually already sent me the bill, but let me pull it up right here for you. So here's your bill, Nav, and see, yeah, I can see right here you paid 450. It looks like that's kind of the average in the summer. It looks like it even goes up a little bit. What would you say it gets to in the summer?
Uh, I mean, what does the bill get up to in the summer? She said almost 600, 575. It never cracked 600.
Yep, that sounds about right. And you guys have, a newer home and so it's not spiking up like crazy again. That's kind of the norm these days. I see eight, $900 bills in the summer all the time. So basically, what we're doing is we're looking at how much power are you using what's called your base load energy. So you see here on the utility graph how in the months where it's not as hot, how it's kind of like bottomed out and that's kind of as low as it goes.
Yeah.
So that's what we call your base energy. That's what you use outside of heating and cooling your home just to keep all of your appliances, your lights, everything plugged in and going. And so, with this said, this is what we can expect the minimum amount of power your house is going to need. Do you guys have any plans to get an electric vehicle in the near future or anything like that?
I already have a Tesla.
Okay, so that makes sense why your baseline is a little bit higher than Joe's. And how long have you had that Tesla?
About 3 years now.
Okay, cool. So just wanted to make sure that this is at least 12 months on this graph that's had the Tesla charging. Do you guys charge at home or do you charge
I,
at work
I,
or?
I mostly use the supercharger.
Oh, okay,
My,
so you go
my
plug.
wife can't park for shit, so there's never any room in the damn garage.
I hear you. Well, with your charging, let me ask you, if it was significantly cheaper to charge it at your house, would you charge it at your house?
Yeah, sure, why not? As long as you could teach her how to park first.
You're funny. You're gonna have to do that. I'm sorry, I can't help you there. But at the charging stations, they're charging, what, 40, 45 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm not
Um,
sure.
$12. I usually charge from 20% up to 80 is like $12.
Okay, there you go. So, right now I can just give you an idea. So in Arizona right now, you guys are averaging around 19 cents a kilowatt hour for your electricity. As you can see right here, the way to calculate that in your bill is simple. We'll just take that 450 and divide it into that, 1600 kilowatt hours that you have here. And that's going to give us what rate per kilowatt hour you're paying. So this is the key part right here. Right now, you guys are paying about 19 cents, which again is the average. That's what the utilities are charging. Back when you guys moved in 5 years ago, the rates were about 11 cents. So, like you mentioned, you've seen some increases, and the reason that this is just going to keep going up is again, more people switch to solar. The utility companies have to make up for that loss. So, again, there's two ways to do it. Let's just go ahead and get to the numbers here. So here's the cash price if you were to do, an 11 kilowatt system with two Tesla power walls, which is going to be enough power to power your house through the entire night. The total cash price is actually 46,483. Okay. Now, if you were to get the tax credits, which I'll explain that, you would get about $16,000 back, and taxes. And the way that works is it's not a rebate, it's not a refundable tax credit, which a lot of these companies kind of promote it that way, or they make it sound like the government's just going to cut you a check. That's actually not true. That's not how it works. The federal government gives you what's called a non-refundable tax incentive or tax credit, where they wipe out dollar for dollar any tax debt or any tax liability only on the federal level. So this doesn't account for Arizona state taxes. So with that said, currently at your job, Nav, are you W-2 or 1099?
I am 1099.
Okay, cool. So you probably have the tax appetite to fully utilize, that tax credit probably in year one. It does roll over for up to 5 years. So, if you decide that, you want to kind of spill over some into the next tax season, you can do that as well. But before we get into the other two programs, is that something that you would be able to pay cash for today?
Why would I want to pay cash
Right.
for
Like I said
solar?
before, it's like,
Sounds good.
yeah, and that's why most people don't do it. I show them, the price and they're like, this is kind of crazy. Like who really spends this kind of money again just to save 300-400 bucks? So just well, people always wonder, well, like how much does this cost, right? Or how does this work? So that's the price, no hidden numbers there. Obviously, if you were to do a loan, the loan market is a bit tricky right now. Obviously, interest rates are high, the cost of money is high at this moment here, 2025. And so there's a couple options. One, you go with a little bit higher interest, but you get no dealer fee, basically the same as cash. And right now we have an awesome program with one of our providers that can give you an 899 rate for a 25-year period. Now, besides your mortgage, have you ever taken out a loan for 25, 30 years?
No.
No, yeah. And this is the other thing too. Like a lot of people, when I show them the numbers, like here's the monthly payment. It's at about 285, so a little bit better than what you're paying now. But basically, that's a 25-year loan. Now, there's no prepayment, there's no reamortization cost. You can reamortize whenever, as long as you pay at least a $2,500 lump sum. But besides that, again, like if you guys sell or anything like that, this is going to have to be paid off. So let me show you the program that Joe got. This is actually our most popular program right now. It's that PPA. So if you look right here, instead of 285, you're actually going to be paying 195. And here's the best part about this program. This is what Joe loved about it, is that it actually has a price cap each year of 2.9%. Now, what does that mean? How does that work? So, like we mentioned before, the utility company in Arizona has moved from 11 to 19%. That's about a 70%, 75%. We can do the math here, increase in just a 5-year period. So now let me ask you, like, what do you think is going to happen most likely in the next 5 years with the utility?
They're definitely going to go up as much as it went up, I'm assuming, in the last 5 years for me already.
Yeah, they're going to go up probably at least, even if they went up by half as much, let's just say they went up 35, 40% and things, slowed down and the economy turns around magically, right? If that happens, still 35, 40% increase is substantial. The cool part about this is that we actually start you off at 13 cents. So almost what you were paying 5 years ago. And here's the cool part. That 13 cents only goes up 2.9% per year. So let me show you real quick on my calculator how that works. So 13 times 1.0299 equals, so the next year it's going to be 13.6 cents. So it barely went up about half a penny in 1 year. Now, over the 25 years, let me just show you quick, equal, all the way to 25. In 25 years, you're going to end this thing at around 26 cents. Now, obviously, right now, Nav, you're only paying about 19 cents a kilowatt hour. I think it takes about 17 years or so to catch up with where you're at right now. That's what people love about it is every person I've signed up for a PPA is saving more money today than when I met them because the utility companies have never gone up by 2.9%. That doesn't even keep up with inflation these days. So, anyways, the next part is really simple. I'm not here to have you make a decision today. We just need to get the application process rocking and rolling to see if your house is eligible. What they're going to do is come out, they're going to check the roof, electrical, structure, look up in the attic, see if you have any dry rot, termite, mold damage. Have you guys had any issues in the past 5 years?
No, like I said, we did a full remodel. Roof is new. The ceiling's basically new. Everything in between.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
does
So
this is this a hard hit on my credit? Like, I'm assuming somebody else claims the tax credits. Can I buy this out if I want to?
yeah. Good question. See, it sounds like you've kind of heard a little bit of this before, but basically, yeah, the thing that's awesome is that today is not a final commitment or obligation. There's no hard credit inquiries at any point in the process since you don't own the equipment. We do need to verify that you are on the title and that you do have at least a 650 credit soft inquiry just to make sure you're able to make the new utility payments. Would that be an issue for you?
Uh, no, not necessarily.
No, not necessarily. Okay, so you've got above a 650 then?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, no worries. And then yeah, the biggest part of how we get paid is really simple. It's that we take the tax credit. And then we also get paid long term. So instead of you waiting 7 to 10 years to get an ROI, our company waits 7 to 10 years to get that ROI. Now it's a 25-year commitment, a long term if you do end up qualifying. So there is a long-term benefit. Obviously, you want to work with a company that is profitable and going to be around to serve your system long term. Just like you said before, your system, the company went out of business. Unfortunately, about 60% of solar providers do go out of business during the time you have the solar system. So that's how we get paid. And then it's real simple. This next part is just a DocuSign application process. Just to be absolutely clear, this doesn't commit either you or our company to obligate to fulfill this contract. What this is going to do is just give you the initial information. I'm sure you and your wife are going to want to cover it together and review it. This is going to give us 2 to 3 weeks to survey the house, check the roof structure, electrical, and then I'll stop by in about 2, 3 weeks from now with the results. And if everything works out, great, take advantage of it. We can, like I said, get you at that 195 payment. So kind of similar to Joe. It's a little higher, but obviously it's because you're using more power here. And
Oh yeah,
so here's this next part. I'm going to go ahead and just verify some information with you. All right, so Nav, what's your date of birth? Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and send you the DocuSign. I'm just going to give you the bullet points, the main things that you need to know about. And then again, you can read through all this over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then if you have any questions, I just advise writing them down. So when we do talk in a couple weeks from now and I give you those results, we can cover any of those questions that you have. Sound fair?
yeah, sounds fair enough.
Cool. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. The first one here, real simple. It's just the initial PPA agreement. This is just gonna have the basic terms, things like data sharing. So we will monitor your system for you, but here in Arizona, we have to let you know that we have access to monitor it. Obviously, that's for your benefit. If something happens, system goes down. There's also a right of access clause that says that if the system does go down, we have a right to access the equipment and obviously repair that for you. There's
Okay.
a couple things in there that talk about, battery optimization services. So we didn't get into this a whole ton today, but I just want to let you know that in the near future, the Arizona utilities are actually talking about incentivizing battery customers to tap in if you want them to tap in. If you don't want them to tap in, that's fine, but we'll always let you know if there's a program that comes out in the future to tap into some extra savings there. And then also just some basic stuff showing again the rate we talked about, the equipment being installed, and then just a standard, arbitration clause. If there's ever any legal disputes, just says that you agree to deal with it with third-party arbitration, which saves both you and the company on any court costs. So, real simple, straightforward stuff. I'm going to go ahead, send it out to you right now, have you sign that off
Yeah.
for me, and then we'll go ahead and get rocking and rolling. So,
How long is it gonna take to like actually get the sucker turned on?
that's a great question. Yeah, so I'm sure Joe, if he hasn't told you, definitely ask him about this one. But this is probably the only downside to the program, really, besides that not every home qualifies, is that, the program does take anywhere from 3 to 5 months from initial meeting today all the way to activation. And the main reason is that we have to get the utility company's permission, fire department permission since we are putting batteries on site, and then also city inspection. So three different parties are involved in this process. Now, with you, we coordinate all of it for you. I'll be your main point of contact from A to Z. So if you have any questions after today, I'm going to go ahead and put us in a group, a chat with me, you, and your wife, so the three of us can all stay on the same page. If you have any questions, I'm your first point of contact, and then I'll have assisting people on my team that'll be reaching out for various things. If you ever have a question about who's calling and you're not sure, always reach out to me first and just double check to be safe. But
Okay.
yeah, that whole process, 3 to 5 months. So if it all works out for you, right, honestly, we're looking at kind of like midsummer, maybe late summer. Now, here's the thing. Right now, we're in April, so anyone I'm meeting with right now, it's not a guarantee we're gonna get this on before summer. Obviously, I'm sure you would love to, not pay 575 and you would much rather pay 195, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but so our job is always to get this turned on as quick as possible, but just want to be completely clear. It could be 3 to 5 months. Now, during this time, also after this system is installed, I will be coming back at a few different points, helping you set up that monitoring app. If there's ever any issues after the system is activated, I want to be your main point of contact. And the reason is quite simple, Nav. If there's ever any issues, I want to be the one that comes in and saves the day because I know selfishly that if I do a great job serving you, that you're going to want to refer me to your friends and family. So basically, that's pretty simple. We'll keep it short and sweet today. I'm going to send this off to you. And then once this is all done today, they're going to verify you have a form of payment on file. Obviously, they don't bill you for anything unless your home actually qualifies, but we do need like a routing account, checking account number. So if you want to go grab that real quick.
Okay. I got
And
it.
cool. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and get this rocking and rolling. And then I will reach out to my team and see if we can go ahead and get the survey on probably for maybe mid next week. But we'll see
Okay.
what's a good time for you for that.
Do I need to be home?
Just somebody over 18. So you or your wife or anyone over 18 that can just let them come inside. They're
She
going to
she works from home, so she's usually there.
It could be there whenever. Okay, perfect. So we'll go ahead and lock it in. Looks like we have an availability next Wednesday between 9 and 11 a.m. Would that time frame work?
Yeah, that's fine. Just tell them to not to bother my wife and just to do their thing if they can. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it'll be pretty quick. It's about a 30, 45-minute survey. They will pop up in the attic briefly. So just make sure we have access to the attic to take pictures of the structure, make sure that there's no, issues with that. And then everything else is exterior. We'll be out of your hair in about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time, Nav. And if you have any other questions, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put us in a group text here in just a little bit. And pleasure doing business with you, Nav. Hopefully your house qualifies.
So likewise, Jonathan, I appreciate you taking time out to talk to me today.
All right. And that's a wrap.